This video is brought to you by Squarespace. Stick around to the end of the video for a special offer they're making available through my channel. Hot Wheels Unleashed. Bet you're surprised to see me reviewing this one. Well, that makes two of us. I got sent a code for this a little while ago and I'm like, okay, thanks for that. It looks fun, but I'm probably not going to have time for that one. I essentially just put it out of my mind. Nevertheless, I installed it thinking, just in case I want to boot it up, no harm, might as well. I've got worse things installed on my hard drive, Warzone, so why not? So this weekend, I'm sitting on my couch and I'm locked down here in Sydney and it's raining outside and I am bored. And just like my hand on a Ouija board, I found myself just mousing over this and clicking play as though Mattel had somehow assumed remote control of me. I played Hot Wheels for like 2 hours and then I stopped and played 4 hours of Halo Infinite multiplayer. Then I played like 5 hours of Hot Wheels. The next day, I played Hot Wheels in the morning, stopped to play some more Halo, and then I played Hot Wheels in the evening. The following day was a similar split. This is a game I expected to play for no more than 15 minutes, but I think I'm about 15 hours deep now. I wasn't planning to review this game, but I had such a good time with it that I feel like I should show it to you. I always like bringing you stuff that is flying below the radar, or stuff that is unexpectedly good, because I think that's the best service my channel can provide. This is flying a little under the radar, or at least it was before all the awesome reviews came in, and the reviews are great because it is unexpectedly good. It's not incredible, it's not immediately going to take its place alongside arcade racing greats like Burnout or Cruisin' or even the classic Micro Machine games on which I grew up. But this is still a really solid game with some super strong fundamentals that will set it up very well for the future. That future thing is kind of a blessing and a curse, as you get the feeling that Hot Wheels are holding back a little in order to give the title some long-term prospects. But despite this, there's still more than enough here to make Hot Wheels a really worthwhile game. The perfect kind of game to play on your own against the impressive AI, or against other people. It's perfect for kids and adults since its driving physics are as approachable as they are deep. It's perfect for split screen play at home or online play against people halfway across the world. In particular, it's perfect for those interested in custom track creation and the community content ecosystem that comes with that. Bottom line, Hot Wheels Unleashed is a fun racing game that is only going to get more fun as time goes on, and I totally recommend it. Let's talk technical stuff first. Hot Wheels Unleashed is out now for PlayStation, Xbox, PC, and Switch. I played it on the PC, I tested it on an RTX 2080 Ti running at 4K resolution, max settings. Extremely impressed with its performance. I was able to consistently maintain a solid 60 FPS no matter what was going on screen. I tried to test split screen, but I don't have anyone else to play with, so I raced around on the left screen, and then nothing was happening on the right screen. Kinda sad, but that's just how it is. And the point is, though, it still ran beautifully, no sort of downscaling visible, no performance issues, whatever else. I had zero bugs or crashes my entire playthrough, loading times were lightning fast, the whole thing was just flawless. As I mentioned before, the 2080 Ti does struggle with 4K 60 at this point, but it didn't struggle here. Obviously, I can't speak to performance on other platforms, so if you are planning on picking it up on a console, be sure to find a review that talks about performance on your platform. The PC options are pretty good actually. There are plenty of graphical settings to tweak, including motion blur, which I left on since motion blur does great things for that sensation of speed, particularly when boosting. There's full keyboard button remapping, but I don't think you'd want to play this on a keyboard. I sure as hell didn't. I played it on an Xbox controller, and I was happy to see that there's also full remapping for controllers as well. All of this culminates in what is a very impressive looking game. The footage here is 4K that you're seeing, so feel free to switch over to that if your screen supports it. Regardless of the resolution you're watching at, you're going to see some fantastic visuals that do a brilliant job of conveying a sense of scale. The tracks are set in basements and skate parks and garages and construction sites, and all of their pieces tower over you as you move under them and over them and alongside them or straight up them if you're on that special magnetic track. You don't pay attention to a lot of this stuff at first since you're kind of learning the tracks and just trying to stay on the road, but as you get more familiar and comfortable, your eyes begin to wander and you can start taking in all of the detail that these developers have poured into these levels. They all look brilliant. The game doesn't just look good though, it's also very functional and clear. The camera is pulled right back, the field of view is very generous, on-screen action never feels cluttered or obscured. Some races, particularly arcade races, don't put a premium on visual clarity, and since stuff moves so fast, it can kind of be tough to see everything. Hot Wheels never has that problem. It's one of the cleanest looking racing games I've played. These environments are an impressive backdrop for the action, but they are little more than that. They each have their own visual flavor, with the lighting in particular setting them apart. The basement level has these clean wooden floors reflecting fluorescent white light, while the garage is all neon blues and purples. You appreciate the diversity of setting, but you'll probably yearn for a little more identity within each of those settings. With stuff like a basement, a college campus, a garage, a construction site on a skyscraper, etc., I really expected that the track design would lean into those settings more. Maybe an oil spill section in the garage, maybe a wrecking ball swinging across the track in the construction site, maybe you have to weave in between moving billiard balls on the basement level, etc. None of that exists, sadly. Every level has plenty of visual assets that look like they belong in that space, but those assets don't do anything. Racing in the basement is functionally the same as racing in the garage, and it does feel like a bit of a missed opportunity. The lack of identity also extends to the cars as well. First of all, I've got to say, the cars look spectacular. Amazing. I want to catch them all. So finely detailed, right down to the interior of each car being modeled. These cars look so good that they are distracting as you race alongside them. Obviously, I'm a bit too old for Hot Wheels now, but I imagine kids who are playing with these toys are going to go totally wild for this. But even as an adult, I'm like, damn, they look good. When we think Hot Wheels, we think crazy cars, which might lead you to think that these cars do crazy things. You see a dinosaur car and you ask, okay, what does that one do? The answer? Nothing. None of them do anything distinctive. Every car is essentially just a skin with some different handling physics and unique stats, but no more than that. There are 66 cars in the game at launch, and many, many more coming in future, including cars from licenses like Ninja Turtles and Batman and all sorts of fun stuff. But it's hard to be excited for that stuff since these new cars are essentially just cosmetic skins. If you wanted to sell me a Batmobile that fired giant batarangs, I'd be on board. But if it's just another car that happens to look like the Batmobile, then that's less impressive. At the very least, I imagine that there would be categories of cars. High-performance supercars, or low-spec jalopies, or trucks, or combat cars, or whatever, and that there would be different categories of races that asked you to use specific cars in unique ways. That is not the case. You can use any car in any race, and I certainly reached the conclusion that using the fast cars was always the better play. I would be drag racing the AI, and they were just straight up faster than me, and my car really didn't have any other benefits to make up for that. I really tried to experiment with other slower cars, like this clip here in the bus is a good example. I did this race a few times, and I just couldn't win with the bus, since it's really low speed, but then I switched over to my fast car and I just completely dumpstered my opponents. There might be an angle that I'm missing here, but that was certainly my experience. So while these settings and these cars don't have the distinctive identity that I would have liked, the thrill of driving on these tracks with these cars is always excellent. Hot Wheels Unleashed has very impressive driving mechanics. It's a really good balance between approachability and depth. It's very pick up and play, such that kids or less experienced racers can immediately get to grips with it and start having fun, but it's also packed with plenty of subtle details that more experienced players can utilize to their advantage. There are two core mechanics at work, boost and drift. Boost is exactly what you think it is. Car go faster. You charge this passively at all times, but you charge it faster by drifting. Boost starts out as something you're just spamming whenever it's up, but over time you figure out that boost is really important for cleanly exiting certain corners or when riding up loops. You also learn when not to use it, since you are not attached to that track by any means other than gravity, and a boost at the wrong time can absolutely send you into the stratosphere. The drift is similarly deceptive in its design and complexity. You simply tap the brake to drop into a drift, but it takes a long time to really learn how to do this properly, and it's slightly different for each car based on their handling physics. You see me bumping into walls a lot in this footage, and that's because most of the footage is from when I started playing, and it's hard to get to grips with this mechanic. It's not a Ridge Racer style magnet that sucks you around the corner like you're on rails. You really have to know how to precisely do it, and the cost of getting it wrong is pretty low since you just lose a little bit of speed, but the upside to getting it right is that skill ceiling I mentioned earlier, rewarding players who take the time to perfect the technique. The sensation of speed in this game is fantastic. Because you're so small and the world is so big, there was a risk that it would feel like you were moving really slowly, but that's just never the case. There's this great balance between these big environments and making it feel like you're zooming through them, with the boost in particular always feeling really on point. Basic handling is great. I always look forward to the moment when the starting gun would fire and I'd be in control of my car. Like, I actually took breaks in the middle of scripting this review to play more of it, because more than anything else, I just enjoy racing these cars. It feels good, it feels fun, and that is the most important thing. In terms of game modes, there's your standard quick play, which has a whole bunch of tracks to choose from, most of which have to be unlocked by playing through the campaign. There's 2-player split screen and online match-made multiplayer. There is a time trials mode, and this is the mode that allows you to play community-made tracks. I don't believe you can race other people on these tracks, at least I couldn't find the option to do that during my review. A quick note on the AI, it does not mess around. There are 4 difficulties to play against. I played on normal, which is like 2 out of 4, and yeah, the AI was tough. I was impressed by how on my toes I had to be if I was going to win. You do not cruise to victory when playing on normal, you still have to work for it. Younger players are almost certainly going to want to drop down to like that easy mode, while more experienced players will find plenty more challenge by exploring those remaining 2 difficulties. The campaign is City Rumble, which is set on those old roadmap maps we used to play on as kids, and it's filled with dozens of nodes. Each one is either a race against other AI cars or a time trial. There's no other diversity within that campaign. As I mentioned earlier, it would have been great to see some weird game modes where you do weird stuff, but sadly that is absent. The campaign is long, by the way. Expect to spend 15 to 20 hours clearing out this map and 100%ing everything. There are a lot of races here, 44 tracks in total, so if you're looking for sheer content, like bang for buck, this definitely delivers. But with so little diversity in the settings and the race modes, it does start to feel repetitive. The repetitiveness also stems from how limited a lot of the early track design is. For the first half of the campaign, many of the tracks feel kind of vanilla, for want of a better term. They're always competent, they're well paced with a good mix of straights and corners and technical sections and spectacle, but a lot of these tracks just feel kind of nondescript. Nothing really sets them apart from any other track you've done. Eventually you start getting to the good stuff, and when it gets good, it gets really good. Like those early tracks are 5 out of 10, and then you just start hitting straight 11s, full of so many unique, interesting sections, and leveraging the full tile set that this game holds in reserve. There are so many track sections like speed boosts and gas clouds and things that will disable your engines, or fans to the left or right of you that will push you off the track, or giant spiders hurling spider webs onto the track. There's all these really interesting things that are used in track design, but the game certainly eases you into this stuff very slowly. If you're finding the game a little dull at the start, I really encourage you to push through this stuff because it's totally worth it. The track design ends up being spectacular. However, if you don't want to wait, you don't have to, because included in Hot Wheels Unleashed are some very impressive track building and customization tools. So if you're finding the pre-made stuff a little tame, you can just make your own. Across all parts of it, Hot Wheels Unleashed is obsessed with customization and player-created content. It starts with the livery editor. Any car that you unlock comes with a base livery, but you can do whatever the hell you like to it in the livery editor. Obviously, you can change the color of different components, including the chassis, the interior, the glass, and more. You can also change the material of each of these things. You know that really sparkly plastic that Hot Wheels are made out of? You can change your entire car to be made out of that should you choose. There's a decal editor as well, with the option to add multiple layers of decals and size and color them differently. When you're done, you can save it for yourself and also upload it to a public database. Now anyone can immediately view and download your livery with just 2 or 3 button presses. When I got a new car, the first thing I did was bring up the community-made liveries because they were always better than what the developers had made. And that was just the review window, with basically no one playing and no one making stuff. Then there's the basement editor. This is a little weird. The basement is one of the levels in which you can create custom tracks. You can edit the actual room, the wall textures, the floors, ceilings, the decals on the arcade cabinets, and the art on the walls. You unlock these customizations during the playthrough of the campaign, and then you can make this room your own. What's cool though is that if you do create a custom track in the basement and upload that to the public database, people will see not only your custom track, but also the custom basement that you built it in, which is a nice touch. This brings us to the crown jewel of Hot Wheels Unleashed, its track editor. Now I'm aware that other stuff like this exists elsewhere, particularly in Trackmania, but I'm not into that, so I can't tell you if this is any better or worse than the tools provided there. Similarly, I'm not the kind of player that spends hours in level editors. I like to consume what others make, not make it myself. Having said that, I was so impressed by these tools and how easy they were to use. Within just a few minutes, I was able to create a complete track that basically sucked, but it had good bones. If I sat there for a few hours, I reckon I could bang out a pretty great track. There's 3 things that make this possible. Number 1, the environments themselves are pretty great. They don't have interactive elements, but they do have lots of detail you can build over, under, around, and there are no restrictions in this sandbox. You can build anything you want, wherever you want, and it is fun to build in these spaces. Number 2, the actual building tools themselves are great, extremely intuitive and accessible. I never bumped into anything and I was like, oh, I wish I could do this, but the tools wouldn't let me. If I could imagine it, I could build it. Finally, number 3, the track components are the best part. Everything that I saw in the campaign levels is present and buildable here in the custom tracks creator. Giant fire-breathing dragons, magnetic floor so I can race upside down on the roof, huge loop-the-loops, so many types of booster pads and environmental obstacles. As much as I enjoyed the pre-made levels, I still felt like the developers were only scratching the surface of what would be possible with these track elements, and it's going to be wild to see what the community is able to do with them, since everything you create is of course fully shareable and immediately accessible to anyone with a copy of the game. With all of these tools and customization, you get the sense that the best days of Hot Wheels Unleashed lie ahead, and that's cool, but it also might frustrate a few people looking for a more immediate fix from their arcade racer. So Hot Wheels Unleashed is aiming to stick around for quite some time. Even before launch, they've announced 3 separate season passes, each of which contain cars, tracks, track building modules, and customization items. I don't have a problem with that, to be honest. I would if I felt like this day one product was skint, too light on content, not offering enough value for money, etc. But I don't think that. The base game is 69 Australian dollars on PC. It has 40 tracks, a lengthy campaign, 66 cars, and all the building and customization tools included. That is good value for money right there. One thing that really sucks though is the way the game handles unlocking new cars. So as I said, I'm about 15 hours deep now, and I've only unlocked a handful of cars. Definitely not very many. The way you unlock cars in the game is mainly through what are called blind boxes. They are essentially loot boxes. You earn them in the campaign, but very few of them. You can buy them with gold coins, but you earn this currency really slowly, and then you spend that to buy blind boxes, which contain absolutely anything, including duplicates. In the limited time that I played the game, and the small number of boxes I was able to open, I got 2 duplicates. Now, these can be broken down, but when you do that, you don't get gold coins to buy more boxes, you get gears, which are what's used to upgrade the stats of your cars. There's a very small selection of cars that you can directly purchase with gold coins. There's only ever 5 at a time, and they rotate every few hours. So if a car you need is up and you have the coin, cool. If not, bad luck. I bought one car from there that cost like 1,500 coins, or the equivalent of 3 blind boxes. That currency took me a long ass time to earn in the campaign, and it did not feel good spending it on a single car. Right now, there's no way to buy more of these gold coins with real money, but I would not be surprised if this functionality gets added after the reviews are said and done, because this economy feels way too stingy right now. And with the duplicates dropping, and no gold coins awarded when you dismantle your duplicates, and almost no option to purchase the specific cars you're chasing, the whole thing looks and smells suspiciously like a gacha economy to me, and I would not be surprised if the microtransactions got turned on at some point. I'm not saying they will, maybe I'm being cynical, but the rest of the game is really good, so you know that these people know how to make a good game. But the economy really sucks, so you have to wonder why these people who know how to make a really good game chose to make such a shitty progression economy. I suspect there's a reason for that. I guess we'll find out. But look, even if those microtransactions were turned on, I still would not feel remotely ripped off by this game. Between the 44 campaign tracks and the 66 cars already in, and the unlimited customization on livery and the robust track editor that allows you to create and share any track your imagination can conjure, there's a lot of game there for 69 Australian dollars. More than the checklist of features though, Hot Wheels Unleashed runs beautifully, looks nice, handles well, and it's super fun. It's staying installed on my PC because I want to come back to it. I want to play more of the tracks that I've already experienced because they're great tracks. I want to see what the community creates, and I want to race other players online because that's something I couldn't do during the review window. I've mentioned stuff like Dirt 5 or the more recent Riders Republic, just fun games that are well made that you can boot up when you have some spare time. Hot Wheels Unleashed is one of those games, and I really look forward to seeing how this continues to grow. Hot Wheels Unleashed, I recommend it. This video was brought to you by Squarespace, the best place to build a professional looking website for your hobby, business, or just because you feel like it. Let's say you want to have a career in video games or content creation. Having your own website would be a damn good start. You could use it to profile your own artwork if you were an artist. You could showcase your best writing there if that's your thing. Or if you wanted to be a games journalist or a commentator, you could start your own blog. With Squarespace, the process is always simple. Just choose from one of their many professional looking templates, update it using their intuitive tools, and voila, you've got yourself a very schmick looking website in no time. There's even more advanced features like the ability to schedule posts or traffic overview analytics so you can gain insights into where the clicks are coming from. To get started, visit squarespace.com, and when you're ready to get serious, visit squarespace.com/skillup for a 10% discount on your first purchase of a website or a domain name. Thanks Squarespace for sponsoring the video, and thank you for watching it. Thanks for watching my video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down so I know to do better for next time. If you enjoyed yourself, consider subscribing, and if you really enjoyed yourself, maybe consider hitting that notification bell so you never miss a video. You can see my patrons here on the left. They're awesome. They're amazing. If you want to join them, check out my Patreon page. Thank you again. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.